You are listening to Comp&Ben Talks. This podcast is dedicated to people who are interested in compensation and benefits and HR topics and challenges, and wish to understand what IT could offer in that regards. If you wish to educate yourself in these topics, see others people's experience and perspective, this podcast is for you. Enjoy listening. Hi Magda.
Hello.
Hi Magda. It's good to see you in Comp&Ben Talks episode 5, in which we're going to talk about remote work and working from home and working from various locations and how this affects Comp&Ben and what Comp&Ben should or could do with it. But before we start, I just wanted to ask you a question. How are your days these days? Because I know you probably are very busy as a Comp&Ben consultant.
Oh yes, I can imagine all the people being involved in Comp&Ben work now. So we have salary reviews, we have bonus payout, API payouts, and KPI setup. So really crazy busy time for all of us probably.
So thank you for finding time for me and for us to have
So
this.
my pleasure. Thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure to talk
Always.
to you.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I was inspired for the topic of this podcast or this talk. I was inspired by an article from Work at Work, because they had a conference and last year, and one of the main topics of this conference was working from home and how this affects companies, and especially one passage from this conference, one topic from this conference captured my attention, and something that's maybe not obvious. So apparently, and I think I agree with this, there is misinterpretation between working from home and working from anywhere. What I mean, what that means is that, like companies, everybody worked from the office back in the days, and working from home was kind of a benefit. And then, like people who can work from remotely, everybody turned into remote work. And then, as an employer, I would think that people work from home when they work from home. But for people, it doesn't necessarily mean this. For people, it might mean that you can work from anywhere. You can move to any location, or you can go for vacation and work from there. And I think there is a misalignment, and I guess companies don't know what to do with it. What do you think about it?
So I think this is complex issues. Complex issue. We have this perspective of regulations and legal aspects of that. So this is one problem in HR. We have Comp&Ben issues. So it means what should your salary be like if you work in particular city or somewhere else. This is also a case of those soft elements like team spirit, like engagement, motivation, and so on. So yeah, a lot to do now, and this new model of remote work. I think it will be rather something in between. It will be a hybrid model, which will be the leading one in the companies, because it doesn't work fully to be like the old days and fully remote, at least in the majority of the companies. This is what I observe.
I also read this recent Gallup survey, and I listened to Gallup, and Gallup is like one of the famous institutes, and I actually love their reports and how you can check your personality through their websites and through their work, and there they predict that this model will be persisting, so that at least like 30% of employees want to work from home only, and only 10% of employees want to work from the office only, and then the remainder, so like the 60%, they just prefer the hybrid location. But in your practice, did you ever like encounter issues related to people saying that they work at home, but they actually work from other locations, or like they moved the cities, and then the companies had troubles with it, or had thinking how to adjust to this situation?
So, not in my practice. I think in Poland, I never encountered such a situation, but I heard about it on mature markets. For example, in the United States, when locations means a lot in terms of cost of living. It happens, and for example, Google adjusted salaries in line with the location or where employee lives, and I think it was two things. The first was adjusting salaries to the location, and another one was cutting down salaries of the people who will work fully remotely. Yeah, so they want to have people on place, at least in this hybrid model, and they try to motivate them, offering higher salaries for those who are available in the office.
So you have actually two sides of this.
Yes.
At Google. You can either cut or at any other companies, you can either cut the cost or cut the salaries, which I think is unlikely, and I can't really
Imagine that. Yeah, this is risky.
Imagine that. Yeah. So I think it's a bold move from Google to do that. And then on the other hand, should people earn more because they go to the office?
Yes.
That's surprising perspective, right? Like, going to the office could be more beneficial for the employees because they're willing to do so, because nobody else is.
Yeah. Just like we said, probably the most comfortable situation is to working fully from home. But for the team spirit, for I don't know, better control or something, managers want to have people in the office. So that's why they pay a little bit more to those who can commute to to the office.
Yeah. Also, in the podcast that I listen to, and my experience and my practice is that working remotely works, but it works mostly with the people that you already know.
Yes, that's true.
Mostly with people that you already worked with, like building relations via Zoom or Teams remotely is really hard, and you can't really feel the person.
Yes,
Great.
I agree, and I heard about onboarding, online onboarding programs, but I think it was rather necessity caused by COVID than the best and chosen practice on the market, right?
So, from your perspective, what are the biggest challenges related to working from home or from various locations? Because people don't always work from home, as we established. They might move to other locations or change locations, or like some of them even become like digital nomads. If you're familiar with this term, they just change locations constantly, and they work from anywhere. So how Comp&Ben can adjust to this?
I think type of contract is important thing here. From Comp&Ben perspective, people on employment contract, we usually differentiate location. So the key is that company offers you certain standard of living for certain work, right? So we provide you with money to provide you with certain level of available services in your place of living. If you change the place, probably your cost will be lower or higher, right? And we should adjust your salary to this to ensure that you still have exact level, exact standard. So that's why probably we differentiate locations and differentiate salaries. Yeah, it happens also in Poland, and especially for people who needs to be needs to be in the office or other
Mhm.
workplace. You can observe
But
that.
do you really imagine that that like you have your pay scale and you have your like people earn as much as they earn and then they go working remotely and then they change location? Do you really imagine that you can cut salaries without people leaving the company? Because like most of the companies these days they offer remote work as kind of standard package. Um, so there's a room to change, and I think it will be hard to explain to people why they need to expect cuts in their compensation just because they don't work from the office. So I don't really see this happening.
No, it's very unlikely. I think, as we said, this is quite a bold move from Google, but it. So cutting down salaries because of move, it won't happen. Rather, it won't be a regular practice on the market, but it happens every day. If you have a factory in one city or in a small town, salaries differ, right? So when you employ someone,
That's the whole point
yeah,
of having
exactly,
factories in those
exactly. This is
places,
the
right?
practice on the market, and this is understandable. You always think about your budget, about costs, because budgeting is a vital part of Comp&Ben management, right?
Okay. So budget goes by locations.
Yes, yes,
And
of
then when
course,
you
yeah, and you always adjust that, and or at least very often, and
Mhm.
you use multipliers for your pay scales to reflect this location factor. So this is what happens. The different stories with IT when you have people working remotely, and this is kind of way of living, how people live.
Yeah,
You have these digital nomads. So this is not what
it is
happens in
specific.
factories. Yeah, so
It is specific to the industry. I agree. Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that people will stay with the package as they have, but doing salary review, you will be adjusting salaries in line with the
Okay.
location, going further, right? So not cutting them down, but then when you have people located, for example, in San Francisco or New York, you need to take this into account because cost of living of those people will be higher, and that's why expectations on a pay rise will be also higher.
Mm, yeah, what you're saying makes sense, and then it's explainable to people that what happened and why, and I think while taking salary decisions, people will take into account if the people work from home only or they are in the office or they moved. So I think it will have like effect in for the future compensation.
Yes, and
Mm-hmm.
additionally, I think this remote work is also treated as a benefit, so non-financial advantage of working in the company, non-financial. So this is something extra. This is not what
But
you.
also something that people expect. I think so like so the companies might be divided into those that offer this remote work or like full remote work, hybrid mode, and those that don't offer this at all. And then, like you said, it's like with benefits. Like some companies offer like mm, insurance or like sport activities paid and so on. So you think working remotely will become a benefit like one of those.
Yes, it will be rather a benefit than something which determines your salary. So the pay scale will be as it is, maybe adjusted to the location. I can't imagine cutting salaries down, but actually I can imagine because Google just did it. But
Just did it.
yes, but
Yeah, but see, they did it in a smart way. I think because like what I know and what I read, they prepared like a tool for the employees that they could calculate by themselves what it means to move somewhere. So it's not like, hey, you moved, we cut it down. It's like, hey, if you move, then this is what it will be. So I guess the adoption of people or like understanding of people is better then, because you know what you sign up for.
Yes, exactly. This is your
If you know
decision,
what I
move or
mean.
not,
So
right?
yeah, so I think it's smart to tell people upfront, or like to show people upfront what's going to happen.
Yes, yes, and let them decide. Yeah, and this is a consequence of your own decision. Yeah, so you can accept that or not. So yes, yes, I think this is a very smart way to to implement that.
Yeah, I think another challenge from Comp&Ben perspective is that when you work from home, like do you think that people will actually want or demand from employers to, for example, to refund for electricity bills, for example, or for like heating system, or
Internet
for
and so
anything
on.
for internet and so on. So like for anything they used to actually perform the work, or even for the furniture and IT equipment and so on. Do you see this happening?
Yes, it happens.
Oh,
I think the most common solution for that is a lump sum, because it's craziness to calculate amount of electricity bills every month for each employee. But this is
yeah.
also a problem of regulations, how you should treat that. Yeah, and what about, for example, health and safety issues? So this is something outside the Comp&Ben, but definitely within HR that you need to take into account. Creating a model of remote work. Yeah.
Mm. I think another challenge that comes to my mind related to the various locations is like, for example, when you have people, there's plenty of companies out there like from outside markets that they have. So they have headquarters in the West, and then they have some facilities here in Poland or various other places. And then since people move to working from home or from working from various locations, you might end up with a situation where you got hired, like let's say in London or in the UK, and then you move to Poland and you stay on a UK salary, and then you have people in Poland who are hired in Poland. They seem to perform the same work or the same job, and then they might raise questions. Hey, why? Like this guy just moved here, he's on English salary, and we are still here on Polish salary. So I think that can be a challenge to explain. I have answered to this already, but I just wanted you to give a thought about this. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, and this is exactly the same situation, but on the global view. Yeah. So if we have two workplaces in one country, and we know that cost of living in each is different. For example, we have capital city and small town. This is exactly the same situation. You have more expensive countries
Yeah, right.
and less expensive country. I think the job for company is to preserve certain standard of living for particular job being done. Yeah. So if you are a developer, you should be able to, I don't know, have a car or buy this and that and so on. And this is what companies should provide you. Otherwise, it won't make sense to create facilities somewhere else in the world, because why you need to face, for example, time differences if you pay exactly the same money to all the people.
No, that was my answer.
Yes.
That was my thinking as well. Like, if you want to adjust this way, then what's the point of opening anything like in Poland or any other, let's say, cheaper location than doing this? A part of finding the right people, and because that, like, the talent pool is also like a question, like like being more global brings you more available people around the world. So I think it's a good thing. Yeah, but that's a bit funny situation, right? And something that's unexpected. Like nobody would have thought about it like 3 years ago, I would say, and now we might need to think about it.
At least we should think about it more. It was a kind of small. It used to be a small department, usually in global institutions, called mobility, and this is what they would They did.
What they
So
did,
they
yeah,
adjusted cost of living to the salary, but also you have there a lot of tax issues and legal regulations. So this is something a bit different than Comp and Ben, but definitely Comp and Ben should work together with mobility to create an exact package and well balanced package
like
for
yeah,
those expatriates. Yeah.
yeah. You're right. So I think now we have this situation when you used to have like expatriates and they were official, and now all of a sudden you can end up having expatriates without even knowing about it because people just moved somewhere else, and you don't actually know where they stay, where they do their work. So I think that's a bit surprising, I would say. And I think it all wraps up to the same, I think, in the end question, like maybe people should be paid more when they actually go to the office, and that
Yes, this is
because that
fatigue.
fixes all that fixes all the issues, right? Like, you have people in the office, you have people in teams, but on the other hand, when I look at the offices, like how they used to be maintained, like they were crowded. So right now you have just a few people in open space typically, and that's normal. Like, when I look at pictures of of like let's say old pictures of the offices, like wow, that's packed. Like there's like 50 people in small. It's like I can't really imagine that easily.
Yeah, and
So there's plenty of challenges, I would say.
yes, people
Okay.
don't want to spend time in traffic jams. Yeah, so
Yeah, exactly. And
commuting to
I
work.
actually enjoy being in the office because the streets are pretty empty these days, so I can easily get here. That's a good thing. Okay, Magda, is there anything else you think we should cover it?
Oh, I think this is such
We
a
should
broad
cover.
subject, so we can talk about it for many hours, and we should also have here a mobility expert as well. But I think main topics have been recalled here. So
Mm-hmm. Okay, so thank you for the talk. Thank you for meeting you again. Thank you for your precious time. I know you're very busy.
thank you very much.
Um, yeah, let's wish everyone on the Comp&Ben side a survival to the
Exactly.
spring, I would say. Then
So
the, the life will be brighter again. Thanks a lot, Magda.
thank you very much. See you next time.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.